Stand by for Gowanna.org radio. In 3, 2, 1. Cue the announcer.
You found Gowanna.org radio, your one source for tech news and reviews. Now, almost live from sunny Florida, here's your host, Gowanna McCall.
Greetings, folks, and welcome to episode 277 of Gowanna.org radio. We got a great show lined up for you. Six stories to talk about all kinds of tech goodies from the internets all over the place. And what we do here at Gowanna.org radio is twice a week, we try to find the best technology-related stories, ranging from mobile phones to operating systems to internet to just general geeky technology and gadgets. We try to find the best stuff here, and we talk about them here at Gowanna.org radio. This is a primary audio format, so you may have caught or are catching the video up on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/IOBuffer, but we don't do any video. It's just actually just a still image. So if you're watching the video, nothing's going to change. It's just going to be that wonderfully handsome man staring at you on YouTube.com. We're over at twitch.tv/Gowanna, where we do a live behind the scenes, kind of a behind the scenes footage of what I'm doing. So you get to see me record, edit, and all that good stuff. But enough about me. Let's go ahead and get started with the show, episode 277. We got a great show lined up for you here at Gowanna.org radio.
It's time for Gowanna.org radio's tech news for this week.
And for our first story, we're going to talk about Hewlett-Packard, HP, as they say over in Britain, UK land, HP. I always try to slip those in when I'm talking to some of my colleagues over there across the pond. I try to throw in that HP. It's always cute to say it that way. But we're going to talk about HP, and this is my employer, so let me get the standard disclaimer out of the way. You know, the views expressed on this particular podcast do not express my employer. They're purely my own opinionated opinions about opinions and such. So do not take this as word from Hewlett-Packard. Okay, disclaimer out of the way. Let's talk about what we're talking about. HP has announced a new Leap Motion laptop, and I saw the video for this, and I was kind of amazed that it's like a combination of the Kinect Wii from the Kinect Wii PlayStation Motion type stuff that you see on the gaming consoles. This is actually embedded in its own laptop type of a thing, and it uses a sensor that's embedded on the laptop wrist pad, and you can do hand gestures and hand motions to navigate, to play games, to use applications. And HP has a special dedicated Leap Motion airspace store. Apparently there's 100+ apps on this store, which allows you to utilize this new feature. Now, personally, this is something I would like to play with, that I would possibly use, but it's kind of falling from my perspective into the gimmicky realm. I don't want to downplay it though, because I know some people out there who are into gesture-based navigation. It's just something that some people like to do. Now, and I gotta admit that when I saw the same thing with Microsoft's Xbox 360 and Kinect, how they navigated through the Xbox 360 by doing hand waves and gestures, and even now you can do it with Kinect. It's some cool stuff. But I'm the type of person that would revert. I would say, okay, this is cool, but I will revert probably to my keyboard and mouse. But I gotta admit, I saw the video of them navigating through a gallery of images, and that to me is practical. That was actually practical. The guy was going through some thumbnail images, and he was just swiping his hand to go through the slideshow. And to me, that has some business practicality as well, because you can do that for PowerPoint presentations. You just gesture your hand to go to the next slide. I could use that. That's something that I could personally use, but that's not a majority of my workday. That's not a majority. Well, it is a majority of my workday. That's not a majority of what I do with my computer, though. So this thing, it goes for, let's say, $1,000 now, $1,049. It is a Envy laptop, special version of the Envy 17 notebook. and is rested, and the Leap motion controller or the sensor is built into the palm rest. I thought this was pretty interesting, guys, so you can check it out. There's also some other features. It has an aluminum chassis, backlit keyboard, and has of course Beats audio, as most HP laptops do. HP not only is my employer, they're my choice of buying laptops when it comes to PC laptops. If I didn't work for them, it'd probably be the same deal, because I don't like Dells. I loathe Asus, and the only one that I actually used and liked was, back then they were called IBM ThinkPads, but now they're Lenovo. So HP and Lenovo are my two top laptop preferences. But this is the latest and greatest Leap Motion laptop, some new tech out there. Check it out, guys, over in engadget.com. They got the details. Can you use hand gestures with your laptop? HP's give you the option to do so. And for our next story, we're going to talk about we're going to talk about Verizon and Mr. Jeff Jarvis. Jeff Jarvis is a well-known tech figure, and I watch him all the time on This Week in Google with Leo Laporte's Twit Network, one of my favorite. He's my favorite analyst because he reminds me of me. He sometimes he comes across as negative and on a lot of positive notes, but he's a realist, a practicalist, if that's a word. And he likes things a certain way, which I can relate to. So when I saw this story, I was immediately interested because he's having some issues with Verizon. He just recently got the Nexus 7 LTE. I believe we talked about this last show. The LTE version of the Nexus 7 tablet was unleashed by Google. He got his, and he went into his Verizon store to get it activated on his account. And he tells his story over on his website, buzzmachine.com. He also talked about it on This Week in Google. But to make a long story short, in case you haven't heard the story, he went in. They basically told him, no, we cannot activate your Nexus 7 LTE because we scanned your IMEI and nothing comes up and it's not in our system yet. We can't activate it. So that wasn't good enough for Mr. Jarvis. He escalated in the store, got a manager they called corporate, and nobody could activate it. So he went on Twitter and actually addressed Verizon support on Twitter and asked them for help because he's trying to get his Nexus 7 LTE activated on Verizon. They couldn't help him either. And basically told him that, and their quote, this is what gets me. This is the part where it gets me. They said, I'm excited you got your Nexus 7, but not all LTE tablets are created equal. It's not part of our lineup and can't be activated. Now, when you go back to the Nexus 7 announcement, they had the Verizon logo. Google touted that this was going to work on all major US providers. And it's supposed to. And according to Mr. Jarvis, he's upset because according to Verizon's FCC application or whatever, the C band, I think that's what it's called, the C block network, they're supposed to allow any device to work on that block, and that's part of their entry requirements for that block or that band. And he went to town. He basically sent a complaint letter to the FCC citing that Verizon has violated FCC regulations, which in actuality, he's absolutely correct. Verizon is bound by the FCC regulations to activate this device, and they're not doing it. And I was sympathizing with Verizon up until they told him that it can't be activated. I can understand if they can't be activated yet, or they're still trying to get it through the system. But they basically told him a flat out, no, we're not going to activate it. And they threw in that little snip or quirk that not all LTE tablets are created equal, when in actuality, according to this FCC regulation that they applied for and got approved for, they are supposed to be created equal. So there's been some updates on this blog. He's gotten responses from Verizon. I'm not going to talk about that right now, but all in all, he's not satisfied. And Verizon is found themselves in a negative light with an influential person who has thousands of listeners at his disposal. He has the ear of thousands of listeners. This is a PR disaster waiting to happen for Verizon. If I were Verizon, I would have engineers in a war room right now figuring out how to get this thing activated. Just his. Just figure it. Someone come up with something to get his activated, and then we'll work on a bigger solution later on. So I don't know, man. This is a huge blow to Verizon, which has been getting some generally positive press lately. But I don't know. Jeff Jarvis has gone to war. Verizon, are you ready for it? Check it out, guys. Over on buzzmachine.com, they got the details. Mr. Jeff Jarvis is on the warpath. You guys better watch out.
You're listening to Bawana.org Radio, a potpourri of tech news and reviews.
What's my next story? We're going to talk about iOS 7. You know what was coming. Apple unleashed iOS 7 recently, and naturally, if you've been in this industry for a little bit of time, you know that day 1, day 2, even day 6 is going to be a little rocky. I've been a part of a lot of iOS updates, and very few of them have gone without a hitch. There's always a subset of people that have major problems. There's also always a subset of people that have minor problems, and there's people who just can't update or get their devices bricked. Happens every single update. And iOS 7 is no different. But this one is kind of interesting. According to 9to5mac.com, there's been a pretty big surge in users early. 30% of iOS users have upgraded to iOS 7 in the first 16 hours. That is impressive. I mean, it may not sound like a lot, but in the first 16 hours, you got a third of your users upgrading. And iOS 7 has been getting a lot of negative press because, you know, of its look. People say, "Oh, it's copying Android." Let me break it down for you. For you people out there who claim that iOS is copying Android and/or Android is copying iOS, you all just need to shut up. Seriously. You really don't have a clue. You just don't have a clue. Customers want features. Okay. Companies try to match what their customers want. Apple, on the other hand, tries to innovate and anticipate what you want before you ask for it. And a lot of times they're good at giving it to you. Sometimes they just simply respond to user feedback. Other times they don't. In iOS 7's case, it's gotten a facelift, if you will, and ultimate refinement. And what gets me is that a lot of Android guys out there, whom I respect, and I use Android myself, are claiming that iOS has finally come up to the level of Android. And just shut up, man. It's not even close to that. These features that iOS has been lacking, and I said this way back years ago, Apple lags on features. Since day one, Apple has lagged on features. You guys remember, those of you who've been around for a while, you remember copy-paste. Yeah, I'm standing on the soapbox. Look under my feet. You remember copy-paste and how everybody was like, "How in the world can you have a smartphone? It's supposed to be smart and it can't even copy-paste." And all these other phones out there had copy-paste. But guess what? It sucked. It was awful. It was terrible. It was an abomination. It was just incredibly bad to use. Apple finally comes off with their copy-paste. They're like, "Oh, it took you long enough, Apple. You took 50 billion years to come up with the copy-paste." And Apple does it right the first time. They lagged on the feature and they got it right. That's how Apple does things. They don't push all the features out at once. They lag on them and they refine them until they get them right, based on what they think is right. And guess what? Android comes out with a similar implementation of copy-paste later on. But you didn't hear Buwana going, "Android, you copy-paste, you copy-paste the Apple copy. You copy-paste the Apple copy-pasta." No. If it's good, use it. If the implementation is good, use it. Android nailed notifications since day one. The very first iteration of Android, they nailed notifications. They got it perfect. I was shocked how good it was. The rest of the OS sucked. When I reviewed the T-Mobile G1, the first iteration of Android, I was like, all right, this phone sucks, but notifications is awesome. Apple had push notifications, which wasn't quite there. Now Apple has evolved their notifications to match kind of what Android is doing. And now people are like, Apple, you're copying the Googles. Apple copy Googles. Apple copy Googles. I'm just like, it's this junior high mentality that one company is copying another because they're inadequate or they just don't have the engineering skills to do it. And that's baloney. This industry works in a certain way. You have to innovate in certain areas, and in other ways, if something is done right, you do it that way. You'd be stupid not to. Oh, man. So, iOS 7 is a refinement of iOS. And I think the current look of iOS has been consistent since the very first early days of iOS. And Apple needed a fresh branded look. They needed a fresh look. And iOS 7 gives you that fresh look. Now, whether you like the look or not, that's an opinionated thing. Hey, some people hate it, some people love it. I don't really care if you like it or not. But they needed a new look. Personally, I think it's okay. It's a little bright for my taste, but it's okay. But obviously, people wanted something new. 30% in the first 16 hours is big. That's a lot of people, man. For an industry or for phones where people don't generally update. And I think this is one area Apple has got it right, where Android is kind of lacking. Android's update mechanism is atrocious. It depends on your carrier. It depends on your model. It depends on what year it was made. You don't know if you can update Android. Most times you got to go behind the scenes, hack your phone, and do it. Apple has done it right. You get a notification on your phone. Hey, there's a new update. Click this button to do it. Doesn't matter what provider you're on. That's where Apple got it right. So, hey, when Android comes out with a slicker update mechanism, are we gonna say Google's copy app? Are we gonna do that? Think about it, guys. Let's be a little bit more mature with mobile OSs. It's very immature out there right now. This is a big reason why I stopped covering mobile phones in my videos, because the whole entire industry, it's like people I respected just got insanely stupid. It was just like, oh my goodness, why is this a fanboy war? Can we be impractical anymore? Can we be, not impractical, a little bit impartial? Impractical, Freudian slip. Can we be a little bit impartial, man? That's why I still respect, and I continue to respect Chris Pirillo. The guy uses everything, and he will trash it. He will trash everything. He'll trash iOS. He'll trash Android. He'll trash your TV. If it sucks, it sucks. That's my opinion. If it sucks, it sucks. I don't care who does it. If it's good, it's good. I'm gonna praise him. So I don't think you guys should be one of these people who are really adamant about your operating system to the point to where you don't even consider the opposing competition, and you get to the point where you're in a school fight, middle school like fight over features, and you get visibly angry. You're on the internet typing so hard that your keyboard's about to break. Let's relax. iOS versus Android, guys. That's the moral of the story. Relax. It's just technology. People take it way too seriously. But 30% the first 16 hours, man, people wanted something new. Apple's giving it to them. But it's not without problems. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Check this story out, guys, over on 95mac.com. They got the details over there. And for our next story, the soapbox has been kicked under the table. Let's talk about some of the problems. Oh, man, iOS 7. iOS 7 is out. And we're going to have, problems. And like I said in the previous story, there's always issues. But this one's kind of big. There's a bug in iOS 7 which allows you to bypass the lock screen. Now, what is a lock screen? The lock screen is the device or the mechanism by which you can enter the phone when you first turn it on. You optionally can put in a password. You can you can utilize the new fingerprint thing that Apple came out with the iPhone 5S. There's an iOS 7 bug that allows you to bypass the lock screen, send emails, and status updates. It's pretty big. So I use my phone for corporate access, and if you guys use a smartphone for your work and stuff, a lot of policies out there dictate that you have to have some sort of an input security system, whether it be a PIN or a screen swipe pattern or whatever, or even your face. The new stuff with the Android with the picture stuff. You got to have some kind of security. But if your phone can be compromised via a bug like this is pretty big. And I don't know, man. This is probably the worst thing that could happen in terms of security for iOS 7. You don't want this type of thing, because that means that anybody who grabs your phone and is aware of this bug and has a mechanism for getting access can't get access. According to this article, it says you access the alarm clock through Control Center, make your way into the multitasking menu, and head into the camera app from there. Let's see. It says a keen eye user found a way to bypass the password-protected lock screen and gain access to the device's Photos app. Yeah, giving him the ability to hijack the email or social network account associated with that device. You do it through Control Center, and there's video evidence of there, and it's able to be duplicated. But Apple has responded. And stated that they're aware of the bug and they're working on the fix. Now, the worst thing Apple could have done is not responded at all, and they've done this in the past, where a big nasty bug comes out, Apple's quiet for 2 weeks, and then they release a patch. People are like, oh my goodness, everything's going wrong, the sky's falling. But Apple has told All Things Digital that they're aware of the bug and they're working on the fix. Expect a patch. Like I said, guys, I'm waiting to update my iPad to iOS 7 till these first couple of weeks are over and all these little bugs are squashed. But this one's kind of big. I'm not happy about this. None of my family members, I was going to alert, usually when there's stuff like this, I alert my family members to be careful, but none of my family members are using iOS devices right now. Pretty much, like I said, guys, if I talk to someone and they tell me their wants and desires of a technology device or something, I'll recommend what I think they'll like. And I'll tell my family in a heartbeat, you don't want iOS. You do things a certain way, go Android all the way. Android's going to be best for you. And that's what you should do. You should recommend what you think they could benefit from, not what you benefit from, because nobody uses things a certain way, the same way, I should say. But this is bad. iOS users, be careful. If you go to a restaurant, don't put your phone down in a weird place. Somebody can pick it up. They may, compromise your phone, because this is a very simple bypass. So check it out, guys, over on Engadget.com. They got the details. iOS 7 bug enables users to bypass the lock screen, and it is serious.
You found Bwana.org Radio. Tech news and tech gadgets for the hardcore geek in all of us.
And for our next story, we're going to continue to talk about iOS 7. And for those of you who are paranoid and don't like location tracking, I know every time you update to a new OS, it's sometimes hard to find options. You go from one version of Windows to the next, you may not know how to adjust your mouse settings, or you may not know how to change your wallpaper because things have moved around and they're in different spots. But this is something that if you do update to iOS 7 that you may want to know exactly where it is. It's to turn off location tracking. A lot of people like to retain their privacy and they don't want their location tracked via their mobile phone. Thankfully, Android and iOS provide mechanisms to turn that feature off. So you don't have location tracking via GPS or via Wi-Fi, triangulation or what have you. Privacy settings. This is what we're talking about here. So this article over on imore.com goes through exactly what you need to do to turn off location tracking. And like I said, if you've just updated to iOS 7, this might be one of the first things you want to do if you want to retain your privacy. So basically you go into the settings app and there's a privacy setting, and then there's a location services button at the top. And then you'll see system services, and you can go within the frequent locations options. And from there, this is where you can disable all of the different specific location tracking features. So if you're an iOS 7 user, guys, like I said, and you want to increase your privacy, one of the first things you want to do is this. So check this story out. This is a really quick article on how to turn off the frequent location tracking and increase your privacy with iOS 7. Definitely something you would want to do if you don't want that feature used. And for our final story, we're going to talk about Cyanogen. Cyanogen is a very, very popular thing. It's an entity with Android. If you talk to some Android faithfuls, they'll always tell you about Cyanogen. Oh, you need to get CMod 0.785 PL6. It'll change your life. It won't change your life. But these custom ROMs, if you will, of Cyanogen have been known to really change the Android experience. And it is definitely something that I recommend to people who are fond of tinkering and really like to get down and dirty into their mobile phones or into their computers or anything to really customize it. But the story I'm going to talk about today is GigaOM reports the CyanogenMod group has become a company. They're now known as Cyanogen Inc. And they have raised $7 million in funding from Benchmark Capital and Redpoint Ventures. And as a company, this is according to the article, it has a simple goal to become one of the top 3 most popular mobile operating systems in the world. So since Android is a free open source software type of a thing, this is allowed. They can take the Android base and make whatever they want with it. Now, the little technicalities come into the customized Google stuff, like the Google Play Store and the Google apps and things that have maybe some proprietary stuff in it. But so far, Cyanogen has been doing what they want with this, and Google really hasn't cracked down on them. I think they are playing by the rules. So yeah. But here's one thing that I found was very interesting with this is that Cyanogen is going to implement an installer on the Google Play Store. This is one of the biggest barriers to entry for Cyanogen. It's not terribly easy to install. It can be intimidating because one has to root your phone, and then one has to go through a series of steps which have that disclaimer, that little asterisk, if you mess up here, it could brick your phone. He's like, oh no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to brick my phone. I don't even want to have a chance to brick my phone. So that anxiety creeps up on a lot of people. They don't even want to bother with it because, you know, having a brick phone sucks. Period. It just sucks. So to put an installer on the Google Play App Store would definitely make it easier for people to use this. It's going to be coming in the coming weeks. It's going to be as simple as process as you can get, according to the article. And this is definitely going to increase adoption with Cyanogen. So I'm happy for the guys. Hopefully they'll be able to make it as easy as they say it is, because to me, that's their biggest problem right now, is that it's a little bit intimidating for the Joe Schmo user, and putting a one-click installer on the Google Play Store is the best way to combat that. So check it out, guys, over at gigaom.com. Cyanogen not only has become incorporated with $7 million in funding. It is $7 million, right? It's $7 million in funding, but they're going to put up a one-click installer on the Google Play Store, which will definitely increase utilization of their software. So check it out, guys. They got the details me over there. Hey guys, Buona here. Just want to take time to thank our corporate sponsors, Amazon.com, Green Man Gaming, and YouTube. Without these guys, Buona.org Radio would not be possible. So thank you to our corporate sponsors. And that concludes episode 277 of Buona.org Radio. I want to thank everybody for listening. We're over at twitch.tv/Buona. We do live things alive and live and well. So you can come by and check us out every Tuesday and Thursday after 6 p.m. Tonight we started around after 9 o'clock, so it's a little late. But it's usually after I get off work. So that's when I do it, after 6 p.m. I'm going to try to come up with a standard time, but my schedule's been fluctuating a lot lately, so I haven't been able to keep a solid start time. But just come over here, click that follow button, and you'll be notified when I go live. I'm going to try to tweet it as well on my Twitter account at twitter.com/Buona when I go live. So if you follow that, you'll be notified there as well. You can follow me on YouTube, youtube.com/IOBuffa, where we post game clips. We also post this show and game chat with Buona. I may be posting more technology related stuff in the near future. I'm trying to evaluate what's best for my interests, because I'm the type of person that my content sucks when I don't want to do it. Which is why I stop doing things sometimes, because if I don't want to do it and I do it, it comes across as poisoned and you won't like it. And I won't put it out there. But we're going to try to enhance our channel a little bit. Our websites are still broken, but they're out there. radio.buona.org and buona.tv. We're still trying to get them fixed. We're going to get them fixed soon. I promise you. I promise you. I promise you. So thanks everybody for listening. And that concludes episode 277 of buona.org Radio. And I will see you next time.